What's up, guys? Today we're going to be comparing the Galaxy S22 to the S24. Is this actually worth the upgrade here? That's what we're going to find out. And yeah, I really like the S22 for this price point that it's at in the used refurbished marketplace. It's around 300 bucks, which I think is a really good price for a phone like this. So let's go ahead and get started here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the hardware difference. There's not a big hardware difference here with these two phones. Obviously, you can see that Samsung got rid of the cutout and they switched to just the camera lens, as you can see, which looks really nice, but they look very similar, feel very similar in the hand. One thing that I noticed is that the S24 is definitely way more boxier and sharper, so it's not as comfortable to hold as the S22, which is a lot smoother. And yeah, they're both the same size, and they also pretty much feel like the same weight as well too. Those are the only essential differences here with the hardware. They both have the matte finish, and they're both IP68 dust and water resistant as well. All right, so let's talk about the displays here. The displays are almost the same here. On the S22, it has a 6.1 inch display compared to the S24 6.2 inch display. So if you probably can't tell, but it's slightly bigger display as well. So there's some minor differences here. So the S24 is LTPO dynamic AMOLED. It's 120 Hertz HDR10 plus. There is a difference between max brightness. You do have 2600 nits peak brightness on the S24 versus the 1300 nits peak brightness on the S22. For resolution, they're essentially the same here. They're both 1080p displays, and they're both, well, the S24 has a lower PPI of 416 versus the S22 425. And as far as like the screen to bezel ratio and all that, it's pretty much the same for the most part. You won't be able to tell. Color wise and everything still pretty much looks the same. Like I said, so the two major differences here with the display is actually that the S24 is LTPO and it has a higher max brightness in direct sunlight. That is pretty much it. So I don't think the display upgrade is really, upgrade worthy for the most part. Because it's just a minor difference. Now the LTPO display is going to help when it comes to battery life, and we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, you will have much better battery life on the S24, something that I pretty much noticed like right off rip, using these two devices. Alright, so let's talk about these specs a little bit more here. So the S22 is running Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, and then it also got the Android 14 update. I just haven't updated to it yet. But yeah, you do have One UI 6 on here. You also have 128 gigs of internal storage, 8 gigs of RAM. The S24 does have Android 14, and one thing to note about the software is that you will get 7 years of majorOS updates with the S24, so that is also something to note. It has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and then you have 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM on the base model. You can see the Geekbench scores. Really big difference here with the multi-core and the single core here. But yeah, so I would say that the experience with the speed and smoothness is virtually no difference, right? It really feels exactly the same. So like I said, if you're just an average person, even if you're somebody who's like a tech enthusiast, there's no way you can tell a difference between these two phones. It's impossible. Now, like animation and stuff, they just feel pretty much on par. The thing here is that, and they should, I don't know why they won't, but so far they said they haven't, but they should really bring these AI features to the S22, because it can definitely handle it for the most part. With the live interpretations, the Samsung Internet, the photo editor, all the cool AI stuff, the circle to search as well too, which is really cool. And yeah, I think they should definitely bring that, because something that I really like. I think the circle to search is really it's very cool, very convenient thing to have. But yeah, they're not gonna bring it to the S22 so far. For what we know now, it's only the S23 series. Let's actually get into PUBG here. A little PUBG speed test here. Like I said, it might get into games faster, the S24, but I really doubt it. Looks like, yeah, so it was a little bit faster, but Like I said, it's barely noticeable. And with gaming performance, I'm gonna let you know right off the rip here. I'm not sure about the Exynos models. We only get the Snapdragon ones over here, but I don't think the gaming performance is going to be that big of a difference either. Where the chipset really comes in clutch here on the S24 is that the battery life is significantly better on the S24. So if you're somebody who plays a lot of games, it's not necessarily that you're going to get better performance. For the most part, you're just going to get better screen on time. You won't have to run to the battery. And also, the 8 Gen 1 will probably most likely heat up a little bit more than this newer chipset here. But we can play 90 frames on here. Everything is super smooth. And this should support 90 frames. I'm not sure. Yeah, it also has the 90 frames update. So like I said, the big difference here with the chipset is that it is going to, one, heat up less, and then two, the battery life is just going to be overall better. As far as like the actual performance, not that big of a difference for me, especially as a casual gamer. I really don't experience heating problems at all, but again, I don't play games for hours and hours, so yeah, it's definitely something to think about if you're someone who's a hardcore gamer. Is there a speaker upgrade? Let's find out. Max volume, S24. Yeah, so I had to turn Dolby Atmos off there so I can get the actual real sound. The S24 does have a noticeable upgrade. It is louder, better bass, and it's a cleaner sound. Yeah, it's definitely louder and has a better bass to it. So there's a slight upgrade here. The fingerprint scanners have not been touched, so they are exactly the same, and you can also do face unlock as well. Software wise, like I said, there's no difference on here besides the AI stuff. Everything else is still virtually the same. Alright, so this is where I think a lot of people might consider upgrading, but looking at the photos, let me know what you guys think. I just didn't think it was worth it, but you guys let me know like if you see a significant difference here. So let's go over these specs. The S24 has a 50 megapixel standard, a 10 megapixel telephoto, 3x optical, 12 megapixel ultra wide, shoots in 8K 24 and 30, and then a 12 megapixel selfie, shoots in 4K 60. The S22 has a 50 megapixel standard, 10 megapixel telephoto, also 3x optical, 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 8K 24 but no 30, and then we have a 10 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60 as well. So almost identical camera specs here, but let me know. They did, I saw some improvements, but I just didn't think it was enough to, you know, to say it was worth an upgrade. But let me know what you guys think. Am I totally off on this? All right, so let's talk about the absolute biggest update here, and that is going to be battery life. Because of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor, you will get much better battery life on the S24 here. It is really good, and it is noticeably better. So I would say that's probably the only reason why you would upgrade here, is because the battery life is better. But what I'm going to recommend here is that if you do have an S22 and battery life, you don't really like the battery and that's like your biggest issue, or just in general, if you're thinking about upgrading the S22, I would get the S23 because it is getting the AI stuff, and then the battery life is also pretty good on the S23. I would not upgrade to the S24. I would save some money and get the S23. And I honestly would wait it out a few months as well, because there's going to be a price drop as well on the S23. So for a couple months, I would probably do that. And it just makes way more sense, since the S23 and the S24 are extremely similar and it's getting the AI stuff. But yeah, battery life is going to be much better on the S24 here. It's got a 4,000 milliamp hour battery as well too. And then they pretty much have the same charging specs, 25 watts, wireless, reverse wireless charging. This one has a slightly smaller battery at 3,700, but it doesn't matter because the chipset is just so much better on the S24. So that's pretty much it, guys. Yeah, I don't think it's worth the upgrade at all if you have an S22. If you really want to upgrade for battery life, just get an S23 and you get the AI stuff. All right, so that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.